Let's look at some different types of answers that we may get. You know, a lot of times when we are interviewing people, they'll give us some opinions. I was one of the fastest and most accurate proofreaders in the company. Really, how do you know that? Did you have standards? You know, how did you know you were the fastest and the most accurate? Again, ask them to quantify that. If they're saying that, is it just their supposition? Do they just think they were the best, or do they know because there are statistics to back that up? I think if you've asked any of my team workers, they'd say I'm a team player. Well, that's fine, and you may say, well, can you give me the names of some people that I can check with? Last one, I'd have to say my enthusiasm helped to keep the people working with me motivated. Really, what did you do? What kinds of things did you do to motivate the individuals that you were working with? Okay, so again, opinions are great, but they're just opinions. They're not. They could be just that and not fact. So we're just trying to put some qualifications around them, again, to bring more specificity to the interview process. Let's look at another type of answer you may get. The next may be theoretical. Again, not all bad, but if they're all theoretical, then that's where we may have a problem. And some of those may look like, well, if it had been my decision, I wouldn't have started the work until I had approval on the design specifications. The next time I get that kind of resistance, I'll know how to handle it. And you may say, well, how would you handle it? The next one, I would take all the support staff and assign them to project teams. Really, why would you do that? What would that look like? What would the outcome be? So, again, theoretical statements, not bad, because it may be something that you didn't have control of yourself, that you think, if I would have done it, best practices would have been to do it this way. You just need to ask them to take a little bit further and to say, well, give me some more information. Let's flesh that out a little bit, so you kind of get a better idea of if that could be something that could happen, how they would handle it. Okay? Let's take a few short minutes to just talk about, to look at some examples and to look at what was missing. Again, situation, task, action, and result. This first incomplete stars would be, when I got to work, there were 2 bus loads of senior citizens in the lobby waiting to be registered, and half the cleaning staff hadn't shown up. It took me almost 2 hours to straighten everything out, but I finally got everyone in their rooms. Well, the situation and task was when they got to work, there were these bus loads of seniors sitting in the lobby waiting to be registered, and half the cleaning staff hadn't shown up. The result was you finally got everyone in the room. What's missing is the action. What did the applicant do in order to straighten everything out? So we need to ask them, okay, so you have this lobby full of people and you got them in the room. What did you do in the meantime? Take me through the process. When I took the job, there was no system for recording customer complaints, so I made an easy-to-use form on the computer and showed everyone how to use it. Okay, sounds good. The situation and task was, when I took the job, there was no system for recording customer complaints. The action was you made the easy-to-use form, but the result is missing. How did the form work? Did they use it? So again, we need to think about what type of information we're being presented with and what information we're seeking in a total way. Because these are good, but they're just not complete. I just assumed that the head of the service department would order extra replacement parts. So when people called in to schedule appointments to get the problem fixed, I booked about 20 appointments for the day. Well, we ran out of replacement parts after the first 4 cars were taken care of. There were lots of unhappy, complaining customers that day. So the action was that when people called in to get the problem, that they booked about 20 appointments. The result was they ran out of replacement parts after the first 4 cars, and there were a lot of unhappy, complaining customers. What was missing was the situation. What was the situation in which the person assumed that the head of the department would order the extra replacement parts? So there was a missing step there that made this a good outcome. In fact, it was a terrible outcome because a lot of assumptions were made, a lot of activity took place, but the result was not some happy customers. Legal and illegal questions. You know, if you think about it, very few illegal questions, and the one that comes top to mind to me is about people's medical conditions. And we all know because of ADA, we really can't ask people medical conditions. You know, what about your back, or what about your, you know, your heart, what about your leg muscles? If we have a job that is going to require somebody to lift 50 pounds frequently through the day, we tee it up by saying, this is what the job requires. Is there any reason why you can't meet that requirement? Again, what we can't ask is, could your back support lifting 50 pounds several times a day? That's illegal. Other types of inappropriate questions may be, are you single? Are you married? Do you have kids? What type of religion do you have? What national origin are you? Those are kind of things that, although may not be illegal to ask, what is illegal if we discriminate against somebody because of one of those things. So best practice is to stay away from those type of questions. So make sure that your questions are relevant to the position. If you focus on that, you should be okay, and you should be asking legal questions. So as you go forward thinking about these type questions, you may have a good question, but you just may not get a good result answer or a complete answer from the people that, from the interviewees. So again, listening to their answer could help you to decide, do you need an expanded answer on that, and why? So hopefully that will give you some things to ponder: that situation, task, the action, and result. Taking notes. You know, I don't know about you, but when I have interviewed a lot of people, especially when I'm doing multiple interviews in a day, I can't be trusted to remember everything that was said in an interview that I want to reflect on. So I always have a practice of taking notes. Now, this works for me. Doesn't mean everybody will take notes, but if you do take notes, you may want to think about this. If you don't take notes and you've thought about it, here are just some best practices you may want to think about. You may want to take notes, again, so you can remember some critical information, either positive, that was a good thing, or they said something that either didn't sound right, or, you know, just some takeaways. So really taking notes is just to help you to review and to keep track of the proper responses from the individual interviewers. What I always had a practice of doing when I was going to take notes, I always told the applicant, because the worst thing you can do is sit there talking to your applicant and all of a sudden start making marks on a paper, because 9 times out of 10, they're always going to think it's negative. So I would just always tell the applicant, you know, so that I capture information that you're giving me, I'm going to take some notes, and you are welcome to do the same, because we always tell applicants that, you know, they might not remember anything, or they may have a list of questions that they want answered, and they want to make sure they get the appropriate information as well. So if we're both taking notes, that's great. If only one of us is, at least we've told them why we're taking them, so hopefully it will be less an inhibited or an uncomfortable situation for our applicant. And then after the interview, we want to make sure we go back and review those notes. Sometimes we're writing quite fast in an interview, and we want to make sure that if it's something that we took, we can't really make out what we wrote. Hopefully, because we're reviewing them directly after the interviewer or after the interview, we can remember and we can make sure that our handwriting and our notes are legible. Because at some point, probably when we've interviewed all the candidates, we're going to go back through all our notes, and we want to make sure that we're able to read what we captured.